Okay guys, I spent a lot of time on the Kramer Nightswan. That just had a lot more history to it, a lot more things to talk about. I'm going to go on to the Kramer Proaxe now, which is supposedly going to be, and was meant to be, the nail in the coffin, as they say, to the Kramer Nightswan. The reason being is that Kramer was supposedly paying a lot of royalty money to Buddy Blaze and Vivian Campbell, and they wanted to design a guitar that was similar to it so they can just not even produce that and make more money. Alright? So here we go, and this is where we start the story. Alright, so this guitar featured many similarities to the Kramer Nightswan, but there's also a lot more differences, almost. So let me talk about some of the similarities it had to the Nightswan first, considering it was supposedly going to be the nail in the coffin to the Nightswan, right? The biggest similarity to the Nightswan is that it had an R1 Floyd Rose nut, which was the Floyd Rose nut with the narrowest string spacing you could get at this time. In fact, I think the Nightswan actually was the first production guitar to use the Floyd Rose R1 nut. So yeah, very narrow string spacing, and they did bring this over to the Proaxe. Had the ebony fretboard like the Nightswan, the back maple neck, the three-piece lamination. That's all the same. Had the mahogany body, and of course the Gibson scale length, which was 24 and 3/4, right? Those are the main similarities, and they are rather big, similarities. Those are big aspects of a guitar. However, there are many drastic differences to this compared to the Nightswan as well, in my opinion. Probably the biggest difference is the trem or bridge that was used on the Proaxe. They used the Floyd Rose Pro trem, whereas the Nightswan had the original. The Floyd Rose Pro was very new at this time. It's similar to the regular Floyd, but it had tighter string spacing on it. So it had the string spacing was narrower, which honestly makes more sense if you're using an R1 nut, So that's a big difference. Also, it was recessed, so a little routed out, going into the body a little bit, so it's flush with the body more. Whereas a Nightswan, it was top mounted to the body, not recessed, like Eddie Van Halen, so for like dive bomb only. So I would say that was the biggest difference. The pickups on the Proaxe were usually the parallel axis distortion trembuckers on the bridge. Then if the slanted ones had the hot rails, and the ones with two humbuckers had parallel axis in the bridge, and then a Seymour Duncan 59 in the neck. All right, whereas the Nightswan had a JB in the middle and a Seymour Duncan full shred in the bridge. All right, that was the most common setup. Of course, there was a Nightswan 2, which had a humbucker and two singles, but I'm going to refer to the Nightswan as just the regular Nightswan and not the Nightswan 2 configuration. Their Proaxe also had a 5-selector switch, whereas the Nightswan was a 3-selector switch. And the sculpted cutaway on the lower horn, I would say it's probably better, actually. It seemed to have a little better access to those upper frets. Overall, those are the similarities and the main differences between the Proaxe and the Nightswan. In this picture, you can see it gives a little ad on the Floyd Rose Pro trem, see what it's about. The cutaway, which is, in my opinion, probably better than the Nightswan. It also shows the colors. So they got a red, a black sparkle. That's probably the most popular one. That's the one I've seen probably by far the most on any Proaxe model. You got a pearl white, the black, and then a candy blue. One reason why I like doing these videos is that it forces me to look up information that I might not have known before. Here's something interesting I found in this sheet. It says General Series Specifications, which is all stuff I've talked about already. However, in the fingerboard area on the Proaxe, which is all the way on the top, it says ebony, which is, of course, is what it mainly had. Then it says, which I never knew this was a possible option, was optional maple, rosewood with custom inlays, or ebony with reverse headstock. I have never seen a Proaxe with a maple or rosewood fretboard, or maybe custom inlays. Custom inlays are probably the claw inlays, are my guesses. So I found that really interesting. If anyone has a photo of an actual Proaxe with a maple fretboard, or even Rosebud, maybe shoot me a picture of that one. I think that'd be interesting. Now here's something that's really weird. Now I'm reading this, and the Stage Master is right below it. And then the Stage Master, it says the bridge is also a Floyd Rose Pro, which they're originally the Floyd Rose original, and it's recessed. So that threw me off. I didn't realize. So maybe in like 1989, they put this on a lot more of the Floyd Rose Pros. But then the Nightswan, also in 1989, below it says the Floyd Rose Pro is also on the Nightswan, and then it says recessed. However, we all know that most of the Nightswans were not recessed and had the original Floyd on them. So I don't know. I find this really interesting, this thing from Kramer. I'm not sure what the deal is with this is, but it's really rather interesting. But I've never seen like the Proaxe with like a rosewood or maple fretboard or a Nightswan at a Stage Master or some of those specifications. I thought that was interesting. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this was all well known. I always thought the Nightswan, it was never recessed. Anyway, something else that's interesting in this is that so the neck in a lot of these, like the Proaxe, is a maple neck, but the Stage Master is a hard maple neck. I think that's rather interesting. But this was all near the end of Kramer's reign. Near the end, this is getting close to 1990s, so maybe there's plans of having this all done with these maple fretboards and everything, these Proaxes, but the shop closed, and now that it came out to be. As I wrap up with this video, here is an advertisement, a Proaxe ad that you see here, with a guy named Derek Frigo from Enough Z Enough. Never heard of that band or the guy, but he was one of the endorsers of this, and here is the typical Proaxe you see with the trembucker, and the bridge, and the slanted pickup right here with the hot rail, and this might be a black or the sparkle black finish, which was more popular. And yeah, so here it is, guys. The Proaxe doesn't get as much love as a Nightswan does, and maybe a few other models, but honestly, this is a great model, and I think Ed Heller, when he was designing this, was really thought through in a lot of things, and it's even possibly superior in a few ways to the Nightswan, but it's really a lot about personal preference if you want the top-mounted Floyd and all that jazz and how the pickup configurations. But yeah, I mean, it's a great guitar, and this is near the end of the reign. I plan on doing a lot more videos in the future with Kramer guitars, so stay tuned. Visit vintagekramer.com. I'm also part of the forums. Check that out. If I missed anything, if you guys have anything to add, please comment below. Have a good one.